when I will teach you how to do your own podcast, how to do your own radio program. One of the things you will learn is what we call point of the moment. And the powerful thing about this way of communicating with people is you can speak right to the moment. And just as I'm putting this program together for you, the President of the United States, the impeachment inquiry has moved forward. And so, through the fourth quarter of this year, that will be a dominating issue. And we're going to be right there. Because what we are all about is, as Christian entrepreneurs, as master entrepreneurs, we have a fate and a stake in how well we help people live and perform and work together for the common good, as well as for the good of our own families and our own businesses. So we'll be watching that, and we'll be looking at it profoundly and how it might affect us as we do business. But today, point of the moment, this is Hallowed Eve. It's Halloween. And all of the stories and all of the situations and all of the parties and all of the costumes and all of the stereotypes and things that go with this or rather significant event, maybe celebration, is, as we pointed out, rooted in a religious tradition. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and bring it home to you as I simply say this. It's time to nail it. That's right. On this 31st of October, on this Hallowed Eve, perhaps for you and your business and your family and for what you believe about our country and about God and the world, maybe it's time to nail it. That's coming up right now. And we are back. Just a brief point today. Now, one of the things I want to do is perhaps put the theme music I actually have from something that goes back years ago. And so some of you would know it, many of you would not. But one of the favorite programs of the 1950s and 1960s on television was a gentleman named Rod Serling. And it's still around because it's classic work, The Twilight Zone. And that introduced you to the twilight zone between what is reality and what is imagination, and how do we live in the twilight zone. I oftentimes use that theme because those of us who live by faith and live by our wits, our insight, our wisdom, our truth, and our belief in the entrepreneurial marketplace, oftentimes to know what to do is not very easy to figure out. To know what is right, well, how do we do that? We do live in the twilight zone. So usually the Halloween becomes Hallowed Eve, as we said, and it begins in the twilight times, and so perhaps this is appropriate. Many of you are very familiar. In fact, probably it is one of the most famous slogans in the world. It's by Nike, and you know what it is. Just do it. Now, unfortunately, there is a rather ghoulish and a rather macabre story behind that slogan. And perhaps some of you know it. I know it because I remember when it actually happened that led to that slogan. But I'm not going to go into that today. That's for another time and another story, and if you want to check it out, you can probably do that. But just do it, along with the logo, which we all know now if you've been listening to my programs. Michael Knight purchased for $37.50 from a young entrepreneurial design student in a college. Quite a good deal, to say the least. But we want to move forward and say, okay, that's part of that, but now the power is in the doing it. We are obviously indicating that there have been some bad things that can come out of the world we live in, and that's certainly represented in the Halloween whatever you want to call it, celebration, experience, mythology, legends. That's true. And as I tried to show yesterday, there can be blessings even in the bad. And we tried to point out what those blessings might be. Because we're always in the business of being a blessing. May I say that again? For me and my business, and we're in the business of making money and making a profit and living well as we can, we are in the fundamental business of being and making a blessing for other people. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, I hope it means that you take the spiritual realities of blessing seriously, that you take the fact that people should be treated as the most important people in the world because they are made in the image of God. I hope it leads to a lot of things just like that. But today, how did it happen? Here's the story. On October 31st, 1517, somebody who was a bit of a disruptor decided that he looked at the present realities in the world and in the church and in the way life and business and the faith of the times was being done. He said there's time for a change. And so what he did, because he knew that on the very next day, and perhaps even that evening, people would be flooding into the local church in Wittenberg, Germany. They would be going there for the All Saints celebration, the All Saints Mass, which would be held perhaps close to midnight on Hallowed Eve, and certainly ceremonies and services the next day. And being a smart marketer, he knew that what he had to do is that would be a good time in a good place to make his mark. And so after years of thinking and perhaps praying and wondering, and certainly it was a fearsome thing to do, Martin Luther wrote up essentially a statement of I believe. And there were 95 of them. And he didn't say, in my opinion. He didn't say, I've been thinking. He said, this is true. And he wrote it up, 95 statements about life and God and faith and reality and the situation, the point of the moment. And he went to the church door at Wittenberg, where not only was the door there, but it was serving as kind of a bulletin board for the church and indeed for the community as a whole. He took a hammer, he took a nail, and he nailed it. Right on the door, he nailed the 95 Theses. It was quite a sensation in the little town, and very quickly the modern new media picked it up. Somebody found a copy, they quickly copied it, and the new media of the printing press had just recently come into the technology of mass production, and so copies of Martin Luther's statement of belief started to circulate not only through Germany but soon throughout Europe. And because of the modern media, because of Martin Luther's marketing instincts, and because of the message itself, the Reformation, which changed all of Western civilization, began. And now most people admit that there were great things there, and there were obviously the religious wars and the persecution and the things that followed were not so good. In fact, many of them were downright bad and evil. So was it good? Was it bad? Obviously, it's a point of view. But now most people of both traditions say that reform is always a good thing from time to time. It's always needed. And now, whether you are in the Protestant or Lutheran tradition or supposedly in the Catholic tradition that was being rebelled against as Martin Luther somewhat attacked the Pope. They all seem to agree that even though we now go our different ways continually, that the need for reformation was vital. And the world was changed. The world was changed profoundly because a man nailed it. I just want to share that story with you because that took place on October 31st, Hallowed Eve, and the time and the place was chosen specifically with a great marketing and messaging instinct, and the company and the influence and the world that was all around changed profoundly. That's the story. Now, what does that mean for you? We'll look at that. I think it'll be helpful to you. I'm Stan Houston. This is the Master Entrepreneur. The Master Entrepreneur, brought to you by TCENglobal.org, the Christian Entrepreneur Network. I'm in the business of helping people just like you, and we'll be talking about that. You can have a podcast just like I am doing. Just as Martin Luther used the new media to move his message into the world, you're going to have to learn how to use the new audio broadcast podcast medium for you, your organization, your message, and your business. You will have to do that in the 21st century, starting right now and very powerfully in 2020, and we can help you do that. So why don't you reach out to me and my team, our What It Takes Radio subsidiary to the work we do as the Christian Entrepreneur. We are there to help your business, your church, your ministry learn how to powerfully do what Martin Luther did on October 31st. Tell people what you believe, tell people what you want them to do, and then to take action, to start to nail it. And we can help you do just that. Again, reach out to me at RadioEdge77 at gmail.com, RadioEdge77 at gmail.com. And I hope you will become believers. We'll be back. Thank you for your time. I hope you'll share this with other people because the story is important, it's powerful, and it happened right during the Halloween time. Now, here's perhaps the entrepreneurial and a little bit of the marketing lesson, which we've already covered. Learn how to use the modern media and time it just right. That's what he did. But there was more to it. It said, I believe. Now, here's what I've discovered. That's one of the most important things you can do in life is to figure out what you believe. Because what you believe will influence how you behave, and how you behave will influence what you do, and what you do will very significantly influence what you get and the results that come into your life. It also is a big factor in understanding who you want to talk to, who your clients and customers are. As one of my friends said after about 1.5 years of coaching, he finally got it, and he said, Stan, I get it. You know what? The customers and clients whose values and beliefs I do not share, they are the ones that I have the biggest trouble with. I need to have people who believe and value the same things I do. Those are my best clients and customers, and those are the ones I should seek more of. Exactly. I oftentimes believe that I am somewhat responsible for what I call BBM. Now, watch it. Belief-based marketing. Belief-based messaging. and belief-based positioning and belief-based living. One of my most significant clients says that one of the best things we ever did is when we began the company, I asked her to sit down and say, this is what we believe, this is what we value around here. This is what we believe, and this is what we value around here. And she put it in her own powerful words, and she made it not in corporate talk, not in all of that, business language. We take the hit. We don't blame around here. We take full responsibility. We're going to be one of the 3% who know who they are and what they want out of life. We're here to help people achieve good things. She went through that, and later on, from time to time, she said, Stan, when we get into the most trouble? We get into the most trouble when we forget what we nailed to the wall, which is what we actually did with her statement. I took it, and we took a big safety pin, and we stuck it right into the wall, and it stood there for many years right by her desk. This is what we believe. This is what we value around here. Okay, obviously you get the story. I'm going to encourage you to take those stories and say, I'm going to do something about that. I and my team, we're going to come up with that statement of, we believe, we value, this is what we do, this is how we'll serve and help you. This is what we believe, this is what we value, this is how we will help and serve you, because that's what it's all about. Nail it. Just nail it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised as to how that will make everything begin. From your marketing to your HR principles to your selection of products and services, it all begins to happen. When you take time to back off, get away from your technology and all the business processes and products, and simply do what Martin did on October 31st, you walk up to the wall and you have the courage to put the nail in the wall and the hammer in your hand, and you nail it. That truly is the mark of a master entrepreneur. We're done for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you're helping the children in some ways, protect them. Lord Jesus, keep the children safe as they go about their trick-or-treating. May it be a time of fun and celebration, and let us not be afraid. Let us not scare one another. Let us not spook one another. Let us be believers who truly, when we say trick or treat, we smile, because there's no tricks here. It's only treats. It's only blessings. I hope that will be your experience. I wish you all the best and blessings. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the blessings of the All Saints' Day. It's time to also make another list. Those people who have served you and cared for you and loved you, and you find a way to say thank you to them. That's tomorrow. All the best and blessings to you on this Hallowed Eve. Until next time, bye for now.